Good morning, traders. I am Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Tuesday, June 25th. Like the Dow yesterday, it feels good to be back. On a mixed day on Wall Street yesterday, the Dow notched a gain of 260 points or 0.67%. Weighed down by the semiconductors, the Nasdaq tumbled 192 points or more than 1%. The S&P 500 also finished in the red, shedding 16 points or 0.3%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, Emily. Good morning. Welcome back. Listen, I'm watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are positive. We're up 0.16. We're kind of fluctuating between, 1.5 to 2/10 of 1% higher. So, it seems like we should open up higher. I mean, yesterday we had that big sell-off in the AI stocks and in the semiconductors specifically, and the market's saying, oh, well, there's a big bounce back. Well, guess what? Nvidia just turned lower. I don't think, it's still, cautious there. There's still a lot of trepidation when it comes to these AI stocks. And, are these values warranted? So there's a lot of cautious there, but, we're keeping our minds, we're keeping a look on everything. Let's look at that economic calendar. We got a good economic calendar. That consumer confidence data is coming out 30 minutes after the opening bell. That could be good. After the bell, we got earnings reports from FedEx and Progressive Software. Those guys are scheduled to announce. And I do want to point out, like that the Nvidia does have a shareholders meeting going on tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow. So, shareholders meetings, I've always said, they're like pep rallies. They're like, rah, rah, everything's good. So while I don't think you can still see volatility in that sector today, I think tomorrow we're going to really start to see some, movement going on in there. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on in Europe. We're looking at the DAX. The DAX is down 195 points. That's a little over 1%, 1.07%. They got weakness in the aerospace and the tech shares. Aerospace, because of that report yesterday saying Airbus is having problems getting parts to make planes with. Yeah, we kind of knew that was going on. The FTSE in London, that's down 21 points or 0.26%. Now, FTSE isn't as bad as the other European indices because, they're showing some gains in oil and mining stocks, which is offsetting the weakness that is going on in tech right now. Then you get the CAC. The CAC is down, 71 points. It's 0.92%. You do get the weakness in tech, but the CAC real issues with the elections coming up, and that's really, those politically uncertainty really has that market on edge. So we got to keep an eye on that. Let's turn the page and let's look at Asia last night. The Nikkei jumped 368 points. That's 0.95% higher. That weaker yen is really helping to support equity prices. It's boosting profit outlooks. But I got to tell you, when the Bank of Japan meets next, it could be a double whammy. They could raise rates and do quantitative tightening, and that could really, hurt those markets. Then we're looking at the Hang Seng. The Hang Seng, rose 45 points or 0.25%. There's a little talk that there could be some additional stimulus coming out of China on July 3rd when there's a big political meeting going on. But let's take a look at those Chinese stocks. The Shanghai, stayed under 3,000. It was down 13 points or 0.44%. I mean, the fact of the matter is China's, the foreign investment in China continues to be pulled. Traders are looking for, indications of an economic recovery, and you're just not seeing them. You're not just seeing, it moving forward on all levels. And, they got some PMI data coming out later this week that's going to be very important. So let's keep an eye on, these Chinese markets because that economic data is really going to be a telltale sign. Okay, keeping an eye on oil. What do we see for oil? Oil's trading lower. We got WTI down, 72 cents to $80.91. Brent is at $85.32. That's down 0.8% as well. What's going on? Questions about Chinese demand. That's in focus. But this afternoon, we have API stockpiles, coming out. Now, last week we had a holiday. There was an increase in travel demand, so I expect stockpiles show a draw. And then jet fuel probably, had there's a lot of usage of jet fuel. There's a lot of talk about the airlines. A lot of flights apparently happened this past week. So, wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a turnaround in oil later in the afternoon or early tomorrow morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, it's clear from your opening there that you're watching a lot of information. You mentioned it was heavy on the economic front today, and we're going to get to all of those events. You pointed out a couple of earnings, so it's worth noting before we get to the economic events and the day's other market moving headlines. Let's get into some earnings action. Bill, what is going on there?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of earnings. I mean, the Pool Corp did release earnings yesterday, and they weren't too good. I mean, their outlook was just nasty. I mean, their outlook was $11.04 to $11.44, and that was lower from 13.19 to 14.19. So that's a big drop. Now, this isn't a major company, but it is kind of a look into the housing market a little bit. So Pool Corp rather negative on earnings last night. But upcoming, we got a number of good earnings coming out this afternoon and tomorrow morning. Progressive Software, ticker PRGS, they're going to be releasing their EPS of 74 cents. Expected move here is 8.42%. We got FedEx, FDX, Frank David X-Ray. Their EPS is $5.34. It's estimated move 7.20%. And then tomorrow morning, we got General Mills, ticker GIS, Grace India Sam. Their EPS is 99 cents. Expected move is 3.45%. And also Paychex, PAYC, Paul, Apple, Yellow, X-Ray. Their EPS is $1.10. Expected move is 5.33% when they release tomorrow morning, Emily.
Bill, the other thing that you mentioned there in the opening was those economic events, that consumer confidence data coming out this morning, along with a couple of other reports and some Fed speak to be keeping an eye on. So give us a rundown of what we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Yeah, 8:30 a.m. Chicago Fed National Activity Index. Okay, 9 a.m. Case Shiller Home Price Index. 10 a.m. we get the Consumer Confidence. Also at 10 a.m. we get the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index. In terms of Fed speak, this morning we heard from Fed Governor Michelle Baumann, and then at noon today we're going to be hearing from Fed Governor Lisa Cook, and then Michelle Baumann is going to speak again today at 2:15 p.m. Yesterday, we heard from a couple of Fed Bank officials. Chicago Fed Bank President Austin Goolsbee spoke Monday, and he kind of presented a dovish case for rate cuts. I mean, he's talking about various economic warning signs that are out there that the Fed needs to kind of consider when it thinking about its policy stance. Cooling consumer spending, rising joblessness, and a spike in credit card delinquencies were just some of the factors that he mentioned in this interview. And then you had Mary Daly of the San Francisco Fed, who also spoke yesterday, and she was emphasizing the need for higher rates to continue their role, in slowing the demand and the control of inflation in the U.S. economy. She said that there's no immediate plans to adjust the interest rates. I don't know about Daly. I'm always confused about which side of the fence she stands on. But I kind of, I like to think Goolsbee's dovish stance is a little bit more accurate with where the Fed will be going. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic update, Emily.
Bill, keeping track of those earnings, the economic events, using your newsware. We can also hear, going back to the top of the conversation, all the other things you're keeping track of. You did mention that Nivida shareholders meeting. You keep track of those using your newsware, along with other types, news, headlines, data, and information, things like buyback news, guidance news, merger news. You're also looking at your stocks together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check here, Emily. I'm looking at, I got my Dow. I got 12 Dow stocks higher. I got 12 Dow stocks lower. The rest are unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG. I am seeing some gains in FANG. Meta's down slightly, but I'm not worried about it. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at some of the news that's moving the markets today, like Amazon. Amazon announced that their Prime Day is going to be July 16th and 17th. Listen, stock tends to run into that Prime Day. You just gotta you gotta wait for the weakness though, because that Prime Day event is a positive factor for the company. So you wait for periods of weakness. I mean, if you can pick up Amazon in the low 180s and run it, there should be some strength around Prime Day, and that's what we really look for. Let's talk Apple. EU regulators have charged Apple under its digital competition law. They're basically saying that Apple doesn't allow customers alternative ways to make purchases. Well, yeah, there is some truth to that, and there's also there's also Apple saying a lot of these people that we do the purchasing for don't have another way to do it. So there's a, we got to look at that a little bit more closely when it comes closer to those the discussions on those on that trial. Then we're talking Google. Google's working on a chat bot to challenge Meta's character AI. Then we're talking Tesla. Tesla issues a recall for Cybertrucks to fix windshield wiper motor controller. Not that big a deal. Okay, what else we got? We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks, and we're talking Boeing, ticker BA. Boy, Apple. They revised their offer to Spirit. That's ticker SPR, Sam Paul Richard. Remember, they used to own Spirit. They spun them off in the early 90s. They moved it from a cash deal to a stock deal with an estimated value of about $35. I actually like this for Spirit. I think this is a good deal for Spirit because you're getting a good valuation on your stock price, for SPR. And you look at Boeing, and Boeing, has a lot of upside potential. So, if you can get in Spirit, in the $30-$31 range, this would be a really good opportunity to pick up Boeing shares on the cheap. Then we're talking JP Morgan. Then we're talking Microsoft, MSFT. Microsoft has been charged by the EU in antitrust violations over their team's built bundling practices. Apple's looking to cut headcount on their assembly lines in an attempt to make more more automation in their iPhones. I don't. I think this is more likely they're trying to create a demand issue. This is what Apple does. You're reducing headcount. I think they're really trying to create a demand issue, which will be good for Apple's share price, especially in September when the iPhone becomes available. Then we're talking Walmart. Walmart has their summer sales event starting July 8th. Remember, Amazon's is the 16th. Walmart's going to start, I think, at noon on the 8th. So, that's these two guys are going head to head, but those deals will be available on both of them. So keep an eye on Walmart heading into that sales event. What else do we see? Mergers. The big merger news, obviously, is the Boeing Spirit Airlines that I discussed earlier. In terms of shareholders event, let's talk Baidu, BIDU. They're having their annual general meeting today, but that one doesn't start till 10 p.m. tonight. Walmart, I see that their CFOs that have a Bank of America London conference that's going on today. And Nivida, of course, they're having their shareholders meeting tomorrow that we want to keep an eye on. What else do we see here that's going on? That's really about it. That's all I'm seeing about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Looking at Delta Airlines, ticker DAL, David Apple Larry. I mean, listen, there's a news report out there. TSA, they announced a record number of travelers this past Sunday. This came out after the bell yesterday, and it's being hyped up this morning. The thing is, they're expecting more, travel demands coming up this week, for the 4th of July weekend. So you had that holiday last week, and then this week you have more travel demands coming up for the 4th of July holiday. Yeah, I could see it. You're looking at yesterday's call volume, 19,767 calls versus 14,202 puts. That's positive. Open interest, 318K, 190K versus 284, 359K. That's positive on both sectors. I do like that. Then you look at the major brokers; they're all positive. You got buy ratings, you got price targets increasing there. So Delta makes me feel good. I like Delta. Delta's a good pick. In terms of an entry price, 49.40. That's what I'm thinking at, 49.40. If I can get in under 49.40, I'll be happy. But that's my pick of the day. Delta Airlines, ticker DAL. David, Apple, Larry, Emily.
Delta, it is today, looking for around 49.40. And coming up, we're going to do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day, picking on the entry point in that one. So stick with us to see what happened there. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, what do we see here? Teva has agreement with ITA, has no impact on the 2024 outlook. Okay. Aviva provides U.S. regulators with an update and complete response letter on that's ABV-951. All right, that's worth reading. Target announced the return of Target Circle Week. When does it happen? On July 7th through July 13th. In between that Target and in between that Walmart and Amazon period. That's interesting. Target getting into the party as well. Let's see. The Regal Pharmaceuticals, ticker RIGL. Richard, India, Grace, Larry. They announced a 1-for-10 reverse stock split. Boeing 737 deliveries could be close to first quarter levels, but 787's lag behind is the story that's out there. Riot, ticker RIOT, they withdraw previous proposal to acquire Bitfarms for $2.30 a share. JP Morgan's out there saying Micron could peak around 200. Okay. Let's see what else we got out here. Let's talk NVO, Nancy Victor Oscar, Novo Nordisk. Their Wegovy weight loss drug, they obtained approval in China. That's positive for the stock. NVO, Nancy Victor Oscar. I guess that's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off and get to trading today, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Meta. Now, Bill, I mentioned you were picky about the entry point on this one. You were looking at it pre-market around 497 yesterday. It did tip over 507 during regular trading yesterday. I may have given it away, but how did your call work out?
Hey, it worked out well. I mean, but the issue here that I saw was that stock started running hotter. It started running hotter right before the opening, like 5 minutes before the opening bell. You saw it start to spike, so you knew this was a good one. And it opened up at 499.20, and then it ran all the way up to 507.80 within the first 15 minutes. Hey, there's your 1%. Take it, walk away. Don't hold on. Don't hold on to for bigger gains, because guess what? You know what? The momentum just ran. You got the momentum. You're grabbing some green and you walk away. You don't hold on for the rest of the day. It's like a bad idea, but it worked out well. And you know what, when I gave out my target price yesterday, that's kind of where the bid was, so it made sense. But when I saw it start to move, I had to make that change. And I tell you, my entry prices are cautious. They're always, cautious, because you never really know until you get closer to that opening. And, I'm doing this way beforehand, but, the Meta platform, it was near there at the when I was making the pick, and, when it started running hot, I had to adjust. But Meta Platforms was a winner, ticker META, Michael Edward Tom Apple, big winner yesterday, Emily.
Taking that 1% and walking away. And just a quick note, I wasn't here yesterday to ask you about Friday's pick of the day, which was Las Vegas Sands. And just a note on that, it opened at $44.75. On Friday, it fell to $44.53 and then traded at $45.22. So you got your 1% there. I'm going to clock 2 wins on Meta and Las Vegas Sands, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Delta pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.